Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing some long-term Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market technical analysis because I want to try and get to the bottom of what I believe Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets are going to be doing here in the remainder of 2018. Not only is there a lot of things on the horizon as far as fundamentals and technicals are concerned for Bitcoin that are looking bearish and also bullish, we'll be discussing which one I believe is stronger in today's video. There's also something that is most certainly going to be happening within the next 20 days to the Bitcoin market, which I believe is going to have a very, very big impact on the Bitcoin market. It's not very often that you can say with certainty that something is going to happen in the Bitcoin market, but this is one of those rare examples, and I'm going to be explaining exactly what that is later on in today's video. But before we get into today's video, guys, if you enjoyed the video, as always, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. It does help out the channel if you do it, and it would be appreciative if you did it. But now, without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Bitcoin is currently trading just a little over $6,400, trading about at exactly the same level as it was when we were doing yesterday's video. You guys can watch that video in the top right if you're interested in my take on the last 48 hours or so for Bitcoin, because what I said in that video is still relevant. But Bitcoin, like I said, has been trading up here around $6,400. We have seen a small bounce here in the hours leading up to the time when I'm recording this video. Nothing major though. One thing I do want to point out, and that we may be talking about later on the end of the video, we'll have to see if we have time, is that XRP did get a nice little bounce here yesterday. If you watch yesterday's video, like I said, linked in the top right, I mentioned about how I was going to be placing a trade here right at around 44, 45, 46 cents, somewhere around there, and then setting a stop probably somewhere down here around 43 cents. And I'm very happy that I did that, because now we're currently up around about 5 or 10% right here. We're doing all right on that trade. Like I said, we'll elaborate on that a little bit later. But also, one more thing I want to talk about before we get into the video is that my new mouse has arrived. I'm clicking it right now, so no more blackouts, no more of those annoying black screens. Luckily, that's not going to be happening anymore. Now, let's go ahead and get onto the coin market cap. Let's go ahead and get onto coin market cap, give us a little refresh here, and do the crypto market recap, because like I said, Bitcoin's trading just a little over $6,450 with a daily volume of around $4.7 billion. Definitely a healthy volume. Nothing to really write home about. That's nothing out of the ordinary all that much, but definitely a nice healthy volume for Bitcoin, especially compared to where its actual market capitalization is now. Of course, that would have been a very unhealthy volume going back to January, but for the time being, that's been pretty average. We've seen Bitcoin's volume hovering in between about $4 to $4.5 billion. That might be a figure that you guys will get some value out of when you're analyzing these markets. Anyway, Bitcoin is still down by about 1.6% over the last 24 hours. And that is mainly just because of when, right now is, and where Bitcoin was exactly 24 hours ago. When I was recording this video, it wasn't exactly 24 hours ago, so Bitcoin is up a little bit since we recorded that video, but over the last 24 hours exactly, it is currently down. And the rest of the altcoin market is kind of following its lead. 8shares has absolutely skyrocketed right here, as you can see on the 7-day price graphs, and you can tell that this price action is moving very, very quickly, because about a minute ago I refreshed the page, and when I did, this changed from 50% gain to a 36% gain. 8shares is moving very, very quickly, but it is definitely doing very well for itself. A 36% gain is a very good gain for any asset, even a cryptocurrency, even an altcoin, and definitely a good gain for any of you guys who may be in 8shares. One thing I do want to point out is that XRP has absolutely completely changed which side of this market it was on. Yesterday, when I recorded yesterday's video, which actually I technically recorded that earlier on today, so I'm recording this, whatever. Technically, it was down here at the very bottom of the chart. It was actually the #1 loser in yesterday's video, I believe, but currently it's one of the best performing altcoins, up about 9%, which I'm definitely happy for, because I took a position in XRP right after I recorded yesterday's video, like I said in that video. But as far as the altcoin market, the general altcoin market is doing okay. The altcoins are seeing more red than they are seeing green, and if we scroll down here, we do see one double-digit loser to match up with the one double-digit gainer that we see. Pretty neutral day, a little bit more red, nothing really to write home about here. Kind of a boring day for the altcoins. We do see quite a bit of movement, especially out of XRP. Not a whole lot to write home about anyway, though, like I said. Ethereum's doing all right with daily volume, hovering around $2 billion. That's a little bit high for Ethereum, and XRP's volume is hovering around $1.6 billion. XRP has seen a lot more volume come back into it ever since that massive pump that we saw a couple of days ago. If we come here to the chart, we'll be able to see that the XRP's volume has been picking up quite substantially here. As you can see, it was hovering down here around 300 million, 200 million, 400 million, something like that. XRP has had a very, very nice about 10 days, last week or so. XRP has been performing very, very well and has continued to perform well on into today's video recording session. Anyway, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get on to the main portion of today's video. because I want to talk about some longer term things on the Bitcoin chart, like I said. And we're going to go ahead and start this video by making the point that Bitcoin has broken market structure that it has been following and respecting for all of 2018. And like I talk about in the course, guys, if you haven't already signed up for the course, it's the first link in the description, guys. The people in it are having a great time. But like we talk about in the market structure video in the course, we like to see, well, we don't like to see, but when we typically when we see market structure breaking in a market, that is a very, very big deal. And that is a substantial thing that you want to look at. And that's something that's often overlooked, but it is very substantial. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean by this. And there's a reason that I've talked about this in the last two videos. It's because it is extremely important that Bitcoin is breaking market structure here, and it's continuing to break it. And we've seen very clear confirmation of that in the last 24 hours, like I'm about to show you. The first example is the Fibonacci consolidation pattern that I dubbed in the day before yesterday's video. You can watch that video in the top right here, where I pointed out that Bitcoin has been coming up here after each pullback. It comes up and gets resistance at the 61.8% level right here on the Fibonacci tool. If we drag this down here, then what we're going to see is it does the exact same thing here. I don't know why I did the tool like that, but anyway, we see the market came up here to around that 61.8% level right here again. If we get rid of that and then drag it out again, then we'll see that this pullback right over here did the exact same thing. Ran up close to the 61.8% Fibonacci level right up there. We got very, very close to it. And then we haven't seen the same thing happen here on this rally. And as you can see, we came up and got resistance at about the 0.5% level. That's a break of market structure. That's not a very major break of market structure, but what is a very major break of market structure is the fact that when we came down to the $6,000 zone of support, we didn't get a rally. And that's a very interesting thing. We're going to need another 2 weeks or so to see if we're actually going to finally get a rally after coming down to these levels right around here. Right around here, we should have seen a rally after coming down to these levels, guys. A very important piece of market structure in 2018 has been Bitcoin retraces, goes to $6,000, has rally, retraces, goes to $6,000, has rally to lower high, repeat ad infinitum, repeat up until now, and that hasn't repeated this time because what we've seen, pull back to $6,000, rally. Pull back $6,000, rally to lower high, etc., 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 etc. Not etc. because it didn't happen this time. What we did not see is we did not see a rally, and one of the ways that we can tell that is because of the Fibonacci tool that I just showed you. We didn't go up to the 61.8% retracement level. We also didn't go up to this downtrend right here, which we were seeing Bitcoin go up and get resistance at. Now, of course, this downtrend used to be drawn a little bit differently. You probably saw it drawn on my chart like this a couple weeks ago, but currently we're drawing it like this because of these two highs here, and we haven't gone up here. Everything is pointing to the fact that we did not get a rally here. Stochastic RSI, for example, didn't stay up here in overbought territory for as long. We didn't see a rally following this bullish cross on the MACD. We haven't seen the rally that we were supposed to see. And that's an important thing, guys. I can't drill this into your head enough. It's very important that we've seen a break of market structure, because when you see a break of market structure, it almost invariably means that there's a major shift in the climate of the market coming. And that's why I wanted to talk about the next 2 or 3 months here, because I see something major coming. And there's another reason that I'm about to get to that I see that coming. And what I think is probably going to happen here is that Bitcoin is about to see some major movement. A lot of the indicators and a lot of my gut feeling is leading me to believe that the bulls and the bears are getting very, very bored of this market. But a lot of times what you see is that when the bulls and the bears, when both factions get very bored and you see low volatility, a lot of times that's a prelude to a lot of volatility, because it allows for a major technical and sometimes also a fundamental breakout to happen. And let me show you exactly what I think that breakout is going to be, because it's been staring you in the face for this entire video. It's been staring you in the face for the last 2 or 3 weeks of videos I've been making, and I've specifically not talked about it because I wanted to make a video on it, and that is the consolidation pattern that we're currently in. I touched on this on the Fibonacci video. If I haven't already linked that, you can watch that in the top right. But there is a consolidation pattern that Bitcoin has been in. We see this downtrend right here where Bitcoin had a test up here at $11,700. We kind of saw a test right here around $10,000, then a test at $8,400, then a test at $7,400. We didn't see it this time, but that downtrend also lines up with this uptrend right here where we saw a test at $5,700, then at almost exactly $6,000, then out back here a couple of weeks ago, down here around $6,250. And indeed, those two lines cross in exactly 20 days. Right over here on the 19th of October, these two trend lines cross, and Bitcoin is going to be breaking one of them. And I've talked about it in a lot of videos. I've been talking about for basically the majority of the time that this channel has existed. The consolidation patterns are one of the easiest and one of the most powerful tools in all of Bitcoin technical analysis, because when you have two trend lines that squeeze the market in and they build a lot of tension in the market and you see the market coil in, a lot of the times when you see Bitcoin or any other asset break out of a consolidation pattern, it means that you've either broken a level of support or resistance, but it also means that you're about to see some some major price action movement. Let me show you an example of that. A very good example is on the XRP chart, because XRP has had a major rally here in the last week, and a very good example of it shows up on the XRP chart. If we come in here to the hour chart, what we're going to see is XRP was in a much shorter term consolidation pattern than Bitcoin currently is in. Right here, we saw XRP enter this pennant right here. This consolidation pattern is a pennant, which is a form of consolidation pattern, and after we broke it, as you can see, we broke very, very bullish. XRP ran from 47 cents up almost to $1, depending on the exchange you look at. Here on Bitfinex, only ran to 80 cents, but on I think it was on Binance, XRP ran very, very high, up to like 11,700 satoshis or something like that. And that was a good example of an of a pennant breaking right here. Another example I would think of off the top of my head would be on Ethereum. We saw a very, very long-term break of a pennant on Ethereum a very long time ago as an ascending wedge pattern back over here in 2017. I remember calling this breakout. I didn't trade it, but I did call this, and Bitcoin was sitting here in a consolidation pattern with an uptrend right here and a flat top, ascending wedge pattern, classical ascending wedge pattern, and we saw Bitcoin break out of it and run from $300, or excuse me, about $400 to $1,400 about 2 months later. Consolidation patterns are very, very powerful, guys, and a lot of times the more powerful they are, or how powerful they are, is dependent upon the market leading into them. And now this is a point against the point I'm making, which is that Bitcoin has been very, very stagnant, and this is a very long-term consolidation pattern. But the point is, and I want to make this very clear, is that when Bitcoin breaks either this downtrend or this uptrend, we're going to see a lot of movement, and it's going to be very, very important for the Bitcoin market. And let me tell you which one I think is going to break. I personally believe that Bitcoin is going to break the level of support here. I don't think Bitcoin is going to break this downtrend of resistance before it breaks this uptrend of support, and let me explain exactly why I believe that. There's several different reasons, which I've already outlined. One of them is that Bitcoin got resistance very, very early. We saw Bitcoin break above $6,600 right here. Not a very significant level of resistance. It was on the short term. It wasn't on the long term. We expected to see a more major rally come, and we expected Bitcoin to come up here to this downtrend, continue that market structure that we were talking about with Fibonacci, and it simply didn't happen. We saw a very, very easy rally, something that wouldn't have required a lot of effort on the part of the bulls, fail, and the bears had control of the market despite the bulls having a couple of weeks to regain their strength. That signals to me that the bulls have lost a lot of their power and that they are definitely moving back into dormancy. Another thing that signals that is that we saw a very major rally here in July, and then we saw kind of a crappy dinky little rally right here in August and early part of September, which also signals to me that the bulls are losing a lot of their steam. Another thing that I want to talk about is that stochastic RSI only stayed up here in overbought territory for a couple of days. We saw it stay up here for about 20 days back over here in August and early September before it started coming down. Another thing, it looks like we're about to see a bearish cross on the MACD in the next 2 or 3 days. That's not a good thing, and that's another break of market structure as well, because every time in the last couple of rallies that Bitcoin gets a bullish cross, both right here and right here, immediately following that was a rally of some kind. We saw a rally form following this one right here and a rally form following this one, and we didn't see a fake out cross like we're seeing here. We didn't see this kind of fake cross right here. As you can see, we got above and it looks like we're coming right back below it. That's what I'm talking about. We haven't seen anything like that happen. So assuming Bitcoin doesn't get some kind of bounce here at some random level at like $6,400, which I wouldn't expect it to, what I think we're going to do in best case scenario is we're coming down to this uptrend of support and getting support there. Worst case scenario, it looks like we're going all the way back down to $6,000. And an even worse case scenario, which I think is less likely, but is most definitely possible, is that Bitcoin breaks below $6,000. And you guys know my opinion on what would happen if Bitcoin breaks below $6,000. If Bitcoin breaks below $6,000, I expect within 12 hours we'll be trading below $5,000. Is that what I think is going to happen? I want to make it very clear. No, I do not think that is what's most likely to happen. What I think is most likely to happen at this point is that Bitcoin breaks this uptrend of support right here, comes down to $6,000, and I think it's going to get support here, and from there it will come up and then break this downtrend of resistance, and then we're going to start seeing some bullish price action over here on into the beginning of November after this downtrend becomes irrelevant because it crosses below $6,000. That's my position. That was a little complicated, so let me run through it again. I think Bitcoin is going to break this uptrend of support right here, come down and get support around the $6,000 zone, and then break this downtrend of resistance and start looking a little bit more bullish. And one of the reasons I believe that is because if we come down to $6,000, that's not really a good thing, because one of the core tenets of technical analysis is the more times that you test a level of support or resistance, the more likely it is to break. That's also something we discuss in the course, guys. The more times you test a level of support or resistance, the less powerful it becomes, and the more likely it is that it's going to break. With that said, we've traded down here so much that I don't really see the bears having enough momentum to push us below it. That's such a core level of support. But the good thing is that Bitcoin has made such an easy target for us here in the next couple of months, guys. How great is it if we look at the medium term that Bitcoin didn't have a larger rally here in the last week? Because what we saw is Bitcoin only went up to $6,800. And I don't know about you, But if Bitcoin can pull back down to $6,000, which I think is most likely at this point, $6,800 isn't that far away. And if we set a higher high above $6,800, that is an early warning sign of a bull market, guys. That's what we've been talking about here. We've been talking about for a very long time that for Bitcoin to start sending us signals that we're entering a new bull market, and if Bitcoin can start getting new higher highs, then we're looking at Bitcoin to go on a new bull run. And that's something that I think is going to be lining up very, very well with the kind of things that we're seeing coming in here into the rest of the year. We've already seen the Bitcoin ETF be delayed, so we're not having to worry about that news hanging over us. We're going to see Backed hopefully launching in November. That's the time that we're looking for. Another thing that we want to talk about is that markets tend to perform better in Q4. Markets tend to perform better in the late fall and the winter. We tend to see markets, especially Bitcoin, do far better later on in the year, and we're moving into that part of the year, guys. So let me go ahead and rephrase and restate exactly what my position is. Short term meaning the next 2 to 3 weeks or so, I'm bearish. Midterm, I'm starting to look extremely bullish because we've set a very, very simple target for us to get above $6,800. If we come down to $6,000, that is definitely the climax of a downtrend, and I think we're not going to go below there. And if we go back up, it's going to be far easier for us to get above $6,800, especially if we can break this downtrend of resistance. And if we break $6,800, that's going to bring bullish sentiment back into the market, which could potentially be enough for us to, at best, enter a new accumulation phase, or at worst, enter a new accumulation phase, and at best, kick off the beginning of a new bull market. Another thing that I want to talk about before we wrap the video up here is that the 200 daily simple moving average, one of the core indicators that we use to decide when Bitcoin is entering and leaving a bull market, is always curving down. Every day it becomes an easier target. It's currently sitting around $7,300. That's not that far away. If we get above that, that is another early warning signal or early warning sign that we may be about to enter a new bull market. Guys, a lot of things are ramping up to make Q4 of 2018 look very, very good. With that said, like I said, I'm not expecting the next couple of days are going to be, or the next week or two for Bitcoin are going to be all that great. But I think what we're about to see happen with Bitcoin is actually going to be an amazing setup for the rest of the year, moving on into the beginning part of 2019. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of this analysis. Not this analogy, but this scenario that I've just laid out got a little bit complicated. Tell me if I confused you with this, because if I did, I will go ahead and try to explain my position to you guys again in the comment section down below. I was going to go ahead and talk about XRP again, but actually I said everything I want to say at the beginning of the video, so we're not going to go back over there. But XRP has been looking quite nice over the last couple of days. And guys, I will go ahead and throw it in here at the end of the video because, of course, I'm going to. The course did launch on Sunday, and if you guys are interested in picking it up, at least go down, click the enroll button. You don't have to buy the course, but at least look through what we have to offer because you guys might be getting you may get some good value out of it. I am very happy with the product. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.